Hoy tenemos una entrevista muy especial con la gente de EarthQuaker Devices. Jamie and Julie, how you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, wonderful. Nice to see you.
Es una marca de pedales de Ohio, Estados Unidos. Hacen todos sus productos a mano y con un diseño increíble. Compas Uno es importador directo de EarthQuaker Devices en Argentina. ¿Cómo nació la idea del primer pedal, el Hoof, y qué impacto tuvo en la identidad de la marca?
Well, the idea for the Hoof came from there's a band I was working for, and the guitar player had this Russian big muff that had a pretty unique sound. It was still like the typical super distorted big muff tone, but there was like some clarity to it. Like you could hear good note separation. So I wanted to try to make something that had like that characteristic of it, like the clarity, but still like the heavy saturation. And what ended up happening is wildly different than what his pedal sounded like, but I thought it was pretty unique, especially for a big mouth style circuit. And as far as the impact goes, I mean, that's kind of what put EarthQuaker on the map. People were very excited about the sound of that pedal.
I think it sounds awesome. I just tried, I don't know, I started playing Pantera. Don't know why.
Yeah, it can do that. Like, I do feel like it's atypical for a big muff style circuit in that it can do like a pretty good heavy distortion, and it also does like kind of a lighter overdrive.
¿Qué papel tiene la ciudad de Akron, Ohio, de donde son ustedes, en la cultura y en la inspiración detrás de cada pedal?
Akron, Ohio being my hometown, Jamie moved here when we were dating, and it influences us in a lot of ways. It's a city that used to be a manufacturing city. We used to have a lot of different rubber companies located here. It used to be a very vital, bustling city with a growing population and a lot of manufacturing jobs. But the rubber manufacturers all one by one left, and when we were growing up in the 80s, there were a lot of empty factories and empty buildings and high unemployment and problems like that. So when we started making pedals and growing, we really focused on making them here rather than making them elsewhere so that we could have jobs here. And we're very lucky to live here. It's a really cool, supportive community, a great music scene, a lot of variety, and then really beautiful like nature nearby. Akron has beautiful metro parks, and we're only about 10 minutes away from a national park. So it's a really nice place to live and raise a family. Not very expensive, but not many people come here because Ohio isn't like a tourist destination. But when people do come to visit us, they're usually really charmed by how nice Akron is. What do you think? How else does it influence us?
All of that. I don't really have much to add, I think. We've named a bunch of pedals after different streets in Akron. Palisades,
Westwood, Aqueduct. The Ledges is named after an area in that national park that we mentioned. There's probably one.
I'm sure that we're forgetting something.
Also, the city gave us the street right by our shop. They gave it the designation EarthQuaker Drive, which was quite an honor.
Ok, me gusta eso. Es un lugar donde la creatividad se puede expandir.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of people are able to, because the cost of living is reasonable, have, a job that pays their bills, and then they're able to explore their passions, whether that's art or music or other types of hobbies.
¿Qué tan importante es para ustedes el diseño estético de sus pedales y cómo sienten que influye en la experiencia del músico?
I feel like it's very important. When EarthQuaker started, I was working as a graphic designer. That's kind of my background. So obviously, like, visual aesthetic is super important. If you look way back, like if you go to like effects database, you can see very early EarthQuaker pedals that didn't really have a branding to them. It was kind of just, I was making pedals back then one-off, so they would have all this like full color kind of crazy art. And then I kind of really sat down and like tried to focus like, okay, we need to have a brand, and what does that look like? And we just kind of stayed with that. And I think what that's caused is like throughout the years, our pedals are instantly recognizable to people, whether you're in the store and there's like a sea of pedals, or like picking out pedals on people's pedal boards, like when you see bands on stage. I just think it's very important to have everything unified.
From musicians that they kind of make you feel like you want to collect them all, like Pokemon cards, or they're visually appealing, so you want to try them. Oh, what's the pink one do? Things like that. So I do think that it helps draw musicians to us if they like our style, they like our brand identity.
Hard to imagine, but when EarthQuaker started, there wasn't nearly as many pedal companies as there are today. And the few that were around really weren't doing like graphics. And now it's pretty commonplace. Now you see pedals with like crazy full color illustrations and stuff like that. And even though things have advanced that way and we've kind of maintained like just our strict guidelines for design, it still makes us stand out. So I feel like it has worked.
¿Cómo logran mantener un modelo de garantía de por vida sin comprometer la calidad ni la producción?
I mean, the short answer is in the question. We have like high standards for manufacturing and we use really good quality parts. So we have like a lot of trust in that the product is going to last forever. And we kind of know there's like a handful of things that could potentially go wrong, and we try to like mitigate that. So like switches, we went from mechanical style switches, which are really prone to failure. Like I think they're only rated for like 10,000 cycles. And we moved to relay switching, which uses a non-mechanical like soft touch switch. And since we did that, like our failure rate for switches has gone way, way down. And I think overall our failure rate for products is way lower than the typical industry standard.
It is. It's also helpful because if people send back a damaged pedal to us, we're able to see what the problem is and, you know, find ways to minimize that going forward. Like Jamie gave a great example of that. You know, we make thousands of pedals a year. I mean, I think we make over 50,000 pedals a year. Over a 20-year history, we've made hundreds of thousands of pedals. And with our, you know, comprehensive lifetime warranty, we only get a few hundred repairs a month. Jamie, you were in the meeting yesterday. I wasn't. Do you remember how many repair cases we had last month?
I don't remember over the months, but I think over so far in this year, I think it's under 500 total repairs, which sounds like a lot, but you have to think about how many pedals we've made in 21 years.
Right.
So it's really not. I think that in terms of a percentage rate, it's less than 2% failure rate, which is a wild percentage. And the other thing is like, I do feel like the lifetime warranty is extremely important. And that also plays into like what started EarthQuaker. I had a broken DoD 250. It was a vintage one. And, you know, I loved the way it sounded. Broke. There's no one around to repair it. So I bought a modern replacement and it didn't sound anything, you know, like the vintage one. And then, of course, I looked at the schematic and fixed it and then started EarthQuaker. But that situation kind of sucks, and you know, I would like nobody else to be in that, at least with our products. It's like if you're like stoked on a pedal and it breaks and then you write the company and they don't respond or they tell you no way, like, you know, it's gonna one, be a bummer and then two, deter you from ever working with the company again.
But the opposite can happen. Like if you have a good experience, you're treated fairly, get your pedal back promptly, then it could really add to your brand loyalty, like knowing that a company will take care of you and stand behind their workmanship. And we take a lot of steps to ensure that we're making a high quality product and that we won't have a lot of failures.
¿Qué innovaciones o nuevas direcciones están explorando para el futuro de EarthQuaker devices?
I feel like innovation is kind of a tricky word. Like what I view as innovation is pretty much a change within the brand, not like in the global markets of things. And that's just kind of how I work. Like I don't really pay much attention to what's going on in the market, and try to drive the market where I like to see it. So you can kind of see in what's been going on in the last year with EarthQuaker is I've been making really simple things that just sound good. Like minimal control, and it's sort of an answer to everything getting so complicated and so confusing, and everything needs software updates or it has multifunction controls or screens you have to scroll through. Like I'm trying to counteract that by making something that does one thing and it does it really well, and it's really like a good user experience and how simple it is. And you know, we started introducing like small pedals in the line, and there'll be a lot more of that. All that said, also still exploring like, you know, more complicated design processes, more DSP, more things with presets, more things with controls that can be assignable. I'm always working on new products. Last year alone, I think there are like 30 to 35 prototypes that we never released. And who knows if they will come out. They're still continuing to work on things.
I'm always so impressed by Jamie's endless creativity. A lot of companies have multiple engineers, designers, a team of people, and we really just have Jamie. He is endlessly creative, it seems. He always has cool ideas. And fortunately for us, a lot of people agree. They like what he does and continue to buy them.
Yeah, the response to these kind of more recent, simple, small analog pedals has been really wild for us. It's very nice to see that other people think like I do, where they kind of just got overwhelmed and fed up with things advancing to a point where it feels like you're playing guitar through an iPad and you're spending an hour doing a setup before you even get to the point of making music. And I just feel like things are getting further and further away from just being creative and more into more forcing people into being engineers or mathematicians before they can actually play a chord.
Sí, totalmente. Yo acá en el local probé muchos pedales EarthQuaker y me parece que son muy sencillos, es decir, muy fáciles de usar y que son bastante plug and play, viste que tocas y al toque suena bien y es fácil encontrar un sonido. Y también me da la sensación de que son pedales que responden muy bien a las dinámicas, así que te escuchan bien. Entonces si vos tocas suave o tocas fuerte, los pedales responden de formas distintas y son como muy buen compañero a la hora de tocar.
That's very important to me, is that it kind of just becomes one with the guitar and the amp. I mean, there are some things we make that just force you into situations like a Time Shadows or a Rainbow Machine, but for the most part, I like things like that where they don't get in the way and they're pretty intuitive to how you play.
Sí, quizás la palabra que más se me viene a la mente, no la quiero decir porque es como la palabra más usada en el último año, pero que son pedales bastante orgánicos.
It's very organic. It's a farm-to-table pedal.
Muchas gracias Jamie y Julie por su tiempo. Es un placer para nosotros charlar con ustedes y aprender más sobre esta increíble marca que es EarthQuaker Devices.
Thank you very much. This was really nice.
Yeah.
Y recuerden, somos importadores directos de la marca acá en Argentina. Si querés conocer los pedales y venir a probarlos a nuestro local, podés venir reservando una cita previa. Te esperamos. Y no te olvides de suscribirte a nuestro canal y dejarnos un comentario, así seguimos haciendo mucho más contenido como este.